Welcome to my kitchen. Today I'm going to teach you how to cook sausage rigatoni with kale. So what you're going to need is some good quality pasta, bronze dye pasta, which gives it a lovely edge, which helps absorb the sauce better. We're also going to need some sausages. Get the best sausages you can get. Italian style sausages, preferably with some herbs mixed through them just to give them some extra flavour. Some shallots, some Tuscan kale. You could use any green leaves, pretty much like spinach. Swiss chard is really nice, but today we're using this one because this is what I could get hold of. Some Parma ham, some cured ham, and that is going to give it some depth of flavour. Parmesan to finish it off. We're going to need some fennel seeds, some rosemary and some thyme. We're going to need some nutmeg, some garlic, and some white wine. The good thing about this is it's a really quick dish, so perfect for midweek or something like that when you haven't got a lot of time, but it's packed with flavour. And we can basically wrap it all up in the time it takes the pasta to cook if you've got everything lined up and ready. So let's get cracking. So I'm making this for about 4 people, so I think 1 shallot will do. So I'll just chop this up really fine. And then we're also going to prep some garlic as well. And what I like to do is just macerate it. Whew, those onions are getting me. Yeah, I'm just using 2 cloves. If you like garlic, use more. If you want a bit less garlic, you can use 1 clove if you want a background note. But again, we're doing it for 4 portions, so this is fine. And what I want to do is just pop a little bit of salt in that because I'm just going to crush it down. And just release all those oils. It tends to cook better. All these oils will come out and then they'll absorb into the pasta. Into the oil. Next up, we're going to need a little bit of rosemary and a little bit of thyme. Just take these leaves off. Oh. Onion making me cry. Now, we don't want too much thyme and rosemary because we're going to be putting fennel in it, and that's going to be the hero flavour, and these are just going to be background notes. So we'll just chop that up nice and finely, and then we're going to throw that in just before we put the wine in. I'm just going to get these sausages. So I reckon about 1 per person. So we're doing this for 4, so we'll just use 4. You don't want a ton of meat in there. You just want enough to coat the pasta. And what we're going to do with this is just break them open and remove the meat. So get rid of the skin. We don't want that. We just want this really nice meat inside. Okay, so now we've got all that pretty much done. What I'm going to do is get the pasta on, because we can have all this done within about 10 minutes now. So we'll get the pasta cooking, and then we're well away. Put that on full. Okay, let's throw some salt in the water. Plenty of salt. And I'm just going to pop a lid on there to bring that up to temperature. Whilst that's happening, we want this at a medium-high temperature so we can get that fat rendered out of the sausage and get it nice and crisp before we start throwing all the other stuff in. So I'm going to go in with some olive oil. Just wait for that to get up to temperature. Okay, so now we've got this up to the boil. We're just going to go straight in with our pasta. Just give it a little stir to stop it sticking. So we can throw in these sausages and start to break these up. All we're doing now is rendering some of that fat out of the sausage. Just up to temperature. And what this is going to do is going to give this pasta dish a real depth of flavour, which we want. So you've got that cured meat, and that just really elevates the sausage. Okay, so now we're getting some colour on this. We can turn the heat down a little bit to medium heat and really start to break it up now. We want some nice fine pieces of meat. And if it's getting a bit too fierce, just bring it off the heat. You know, if it's getting a bit too, you can hear in there, it's going a bit too fast, just bring it off the heat. And I'm just going to go through and crush this all down and keep rendering this through. And whilst that sausage meat has now had time to render, we're just going to throw the shallots in as well, because we want to sweat those down a little bit. So I'm just going to throw those in. And it's also this time you can throw a bit of fennel in, and also a bit of chili. So I'm just going for a small amount of fennel, and we'll just disperse that around. Just a small amount, just for the background there. Now we can throw a little bit of salt in here, just to bring some moisture out of those onions, out of the shallots. But we don't want to add too much because we're adding the Parma ham in a minute, so that will give it a salty aspect as well. So I'm just going to go through this, chop it really fine. And now we're just going to add that to the pan, along with the herbs, the garlic. I'm just going to give that a little stir. And just make sure this isn't sticking. And then we're going to go in with the Parma ham. With the Parma ham, you probably want to do half a slice per person, so maybe 2 slices of Parma ham, because the sausage is still here, but the Parma ham is the depth of flavour in the background. Okay, so just make sure that Parma ham doesn't clump up too much. So I'm just going to take off these stalks, and then we're just going to cut it up in a rustic kind of centimetre ribbons here, and we're just going to throw that in, and that's just going to wilt nicely, and you can cook that kale pretty hard. It's quite robust, and then I'm just going to grab some wine to throw in there as well, and that will stop the garlic from overcooking, or stop the garlic from burning or anything happening with that, and it will just cool things down, slow the process down, and let those flavours just come together. Maybe a quarter glass of dry white wine. I'm just going to throw that in and let it reduce. You can just see that wine, just let that reduce by half. Just check the pasta. So it's still got a while to go, so that's fine. Down a little bit as we do this. So I'll just take a chunk of that off. I'm just going to pop that in the fridge because we don't need this anymore. So stop it going bad. Is to just add that block of cheese in there, just break it up a little bit, and then we're just going to whiz that up. Okay. Okay, so what we've got here is some really nice, finely milled Parmesan. If you want to check if your pasta's done, just bring it over here, cut it open, and have a look inside. And if you can see, it's still raw on the inside. It needs a little bit longer, but you can also just taste it. It's probably a couple of minutes off, so we'll just keep cooking that. I'm just going to pour off a little bit of the pasta water to use in a minute, and then we're going to drain this in the sink. Okay, so now it's just a case of getting the pasta into the pan. And just letting it cook through. With this reserved pasta water as well, we're just going to throw some of that in to make a sauce. Just toss that through. We'll just stir that through and continue to cook it in the pan. So now we're just going to throw some Parmesan in. Our Parmesan, and that's just going to help to emulsify the sauce a little bit. Just a small amount. And that's just going to mix with the pasta water and make it nice and creamy. Okay. So what we also want to do is just put a little bit of nutmeg in there, or you can just grate this. And I'm just going to use a knife just to shave a few bits off. So I'm just going to scrape a few shavings of that in there. Don't go overboard because nutmeg is a really strong flavour. And again, we're just building layers and layers and layers of flavours into this dish, but we're not trying to overtake anything. We're trying to build base layers and then have strong layers like the pork, sausage, and the beautiful pasta as well. And we'll just finish that with a bit of pepper. And then a tiny little bit more olive oil. It's beautiful, fine grated Parmesan on top. So this is my ultimate recipe for sausage rigatoni with kale. Let's try it. You've got that really deep depth of flavour coming from the prosciutto. You got some really good flavour coming from that pork because we've rendered the fat down beautifully. You got that umami parmesan. You got that nice bite of the nice texture and bite of the kale flavour running through there. And then we've got that beautiful nutmeg. We've got those herbs giving it some aromatic flavour in the backgrounds. We've got that fennel, not too much though, just enough to accent and work well with that pork. Guys, you've got to try this. I'll just try some of that. This pasta is beautiful with a glass of Italian wine, something dry with good fruity notes. And a perfect pair with this would be agave, which is usually for like fish or something, but the lightness of this pasta dish and those beautiful flavors go really well with like a very fruity, zesty, fresh tasting, light dry white wine like this one.